All right, so let's talk about the game a little bit. We have nationally ranked, undefeated Kansas coming into town. Todd Reesing is a senior now. 3 years ago in Kansas, he came off the bench, burned his red shirt, and beat the Buffs, and he's beaten the Buffs 3 straight times now. Did you know Kansas has never won 4 consecutive games in this series?
Yeah, actually, because I put that in your story the other day.
You didn't put that
Yes,
in my
I did.
story. I put that in my
You
story.
put a question mark at the end of it. Go back and look in your computer.
Whatever.
I'll have to help him out with that. But yeah, they actually did. I went back and looked, and there was a stretch way back when they won 2, tied 1, and won 2. But ever since then, they've never won 4 in a row. And Reesing came off the bench, beat them. They were ahead 9-0, I think, was the
Right,
score.
yeah.
And he came off, and that really lit a fire under the entire Kansas program. That was a Kansas program that was struggling at that time.
Right.
There were
Very
a lot of
similar to what's
there
happening
were
here.
a lot of cries for Mark Mangino's head to be on a platter, and that would take a big platter, by the way. But
Taking pot shots at the big man.
I like Mark Mangino, but and that really that rejuvenated an entire program. It wasn't just that year; that rejuvenated an entire program, moving Kerry Meyer to wide receiver. It did a lot of good
Yeah,
things. for him.
2007, they ended up in the Orange Bowl, 12-1.
Yeah, and it was the 2006 game that basically that saved Mangino's job right in there, because there was a lot of talk about Mark Mangino not making it through that year. If they'd have lost that game to Colorado, would have continued to struggle. So I don't think that same kind of thing is going to happen this week, but the parallels are interesting nevertheless.
So you look at this Kansas team, and they really haven't played anybody, and that seems to be the case every time we're sitting here talking about Kansas the past 3 years. I mean, there's been a couple of times here on this show where you've
Fraud.
said, yeah, Kansas is a fraud, and you don't believe in them, and that's because they've played some poor non-conference schedules in the past. And
They did beat a good Southern Mississippi team this year, and that's a pretty good
true.
team. They did beat a good
But
Southern
Southern Mississippi was in that game for
Yeah.
a long time at Kansas. So I mean, what are your thoughts about this Kansas team coming in here?
Oh, I don't think the Kansas defense is by any stretch of the imagination, a strong defense. I think Texas has a much stronger defense. I think Colorado has seen better defenses this year. But what Kansas does have is they have a great quarterback. They throw the ball well. They have a good running game. And if Colorado's going to stay in this game, I'm guessing it's going to have to be a high-scoring game. I mean, I don't think they're going to hold, Kansas to 17 points in this game. So I think they have to be able to go out and score with them.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I agree with that. Todd Reesing connected with Desmond Briscoe and Kerry Meyer 28 times between just those two receivers in his last outing. They just have tremendous chemistry that we've sort of seen this season between Cody Hawkins and Scotty McKnight. Well, that's really what makes this Kansas offense go, is that chemistry and Reesing's ability to make plays when everything's helter-skelter around him. He always finds a way to keep the play alive and find one of those receivers. Often that guy seems to be Kerry Meyer in those situations. The running game is a little bit of a question mark. They haven't had Jake Sharp recently. I'm not sure that he's going to be back in this game. But I do think it is up to the Buffs offense to put up some points against this team, and the defense, has to keep playing well. The defense played extremely well and didn't get rewarded for it at Texas last week. I mean, they held the top scoring team in the nation to 17 offensive points.
It was a great performance by the defense, and if they can match that again this week, keep their special teams mistakes down to 0 instead of the 2 big ones they had against Texas, they got a chance to win this game. I think they have a very good chance to win this game at home. I think there's been a sense of rejuvenation around the program and among fans, just because A, the way they played against Texas, and B, there's a new starting quarterback, and I think fans are going to be very excited and jacked up about this game. I expect a really good, excited crowd for it.
Yeah, it's an evening affair. I'm actually kind of surprised that they didn't choose to make this year's blackout game. I suppose they're hoping that the Missouri game on Halloween turns out to be a night game so that they can make that the blackout game. I've also heard that if they don't have a night game against Missouri, they might turn one of the remaining home games into a gold rush or something instead of a blackout. So that'll be interesting.
I'd like to see him turn it into a win, just for the heck of it.
All right. Well, is that going to happen?
That's going to happen this weekend. I honestly think the defense is going to make enough of a difference this weekend. that they'll keep Kansas in check. They haven't had, they have played Kansas well the last 3 years in a row. If you go back and look, it's gotten away from them a couple times late, but they've played Kansas well. They've held the offense. They've played that offense fairly well. I think they can do that again this year. I like Colorado about 27-22.
All right. Well, I'm not sold. I think, and I know that's not a surprise to you, but I think the Kansas offense is going to be just a little bit too much for these Buffs, and I think Tyler Hansen will play relatively well. He might make a few mistakes, but I'm going to go with Kansas in a close one. We'll go with 30-26.
Ooh, all right.